Hey everybody, happy Monday. I hope things are going well for you today. Welcome to another Creative Escape. This will be Creative Escape number 6, and our theme this week that we're doing is outer space. For those of you that are, maybe this is your first time running across one of my videos, every week during our corona craziness that we've been going through, I've just been offering some free creative escapes to help people find a good creative outlet, relieve some stress, provide a distraction, and just have a little fun for a while. So would invite you to come on in and hang out with me for a little bit. And we're going to walk through our drawing together today. And we're going to be drawing a spaceship or a rocket ship with a little alien inside of it. So grab a piece of paper, a pencil, maybe some colored pencils or markers, whatever makes you happy, and let's do some drawing, okay? Let me turn you around here so you can see what it is we're going to draw today. There's our little spaceship with our alien inside. Hope you're excited to draw that guy today. And as always, you know, you are the artist today, so you feel free to adjust, change, adapt, however you want it to look. Change the colors, change the design, whatever makes you happy. Okay? All right, well, if you're ready, here we go. I'm going to set this off to the side, and we're going to start with our basic rocket ship shape. And of course, we want you to, or would invite you to just make this a judgment-free zone for yourself. You know, just take it as it comes, have a little fun with it, and just give yourself permission to play, okay? Well, we're going to start with our basic rocket ship shape, which is kind of a triangular form. And feel free, if you've got any comments or questions as we're working, to type them in the chat there. I will try to keep an eye on it as I draw, and feel free... Sorry, we'll try to answer all your questions for you. If I miss any, I'll go back and get them later, okay? All right, so here we go. We're going to do a really elongated triangle shape that's got a curve to it. So find the starting point of your rocket ship where the center and the top's going to be. And then we're going to work out, and I'm going to work out to the left first because I'm right-handed, so I always try to draw to the left, and then that way I'm not looking across my hand when I try to repeat what I've drawn on the right-hand side, okay? So if you are a lefty, maybe you start with the right and then do the left second, okay? So here we go. Kind of a curve. Pop it out here a little bit. You decide how long you want your rocket ship to be. Maybe you want yours to be a little more on the short, skinny side or short, squat side, whatever. I have no idea what I'm talking about today. It's okay. All right, so we're going to work back up this direction, and roughly there will be one side of our rocket ship. Is that showing up okay? Again, just a reminder, if you're going to go over your drawing with some colored pencil later, I would encourage you to press really lightly with your pencil, so your pencil lines are super light, almost to the point that they're hard to see, and that'll make it easier to color over with colored pencil. Otherwise, do feel free to take an eraser to your lines and lighten them up before you start with colored pencil. That way your graphite's not showing through the colored spots. Does that make sense? Okay, all right, so back up here at the top, we're going to do a rounded tip on our rocket ship, and we're going to come out to the right, and we're just going to try to create a mirror image of that first line that we drew. And when I do stuff like that, I'm always glancing back to the first line that I drew, and then back and forth to the line that I'm currently drawing, trying to make sure that I match in distance and curve and shape. So see if that helps a little bit as you're trying to repeat your shape here. And if your spaceship ends up a little wonko, well, that's all right. Nothing wrong with that. He'll just be an artsy spaceship then, right? Oh, good. Thanks, Brent. I'm glad you can see that just fine. All right. So roughly there, you decide how close you want that bottom to get. And then we're going to put just a gently curved line on the bottom. And instead of doing a flat line there, the curved line helps us to bring out the dimension of the rocket ship a little bit. It makes it look a little bit more 3D when you put a curved line on the bottom instead of a straight line. Okay? All right. So now on the first rocket ship that I did, let me show this to you again. I've got some curved stripes on there that I think we'll do next, and then we'll look at doing these little fins on the side, okay? Or whatever you call those things. Okay, so you decide if you want to do stripes on yours. If so, how far down on this nose cone do you want it to go? Pick a place to start, and then you're going to do a curved line that dips down. Okay, so again, we're doing curved lines to help accentuate the three-dimensionality of the rocket ship, okay? You decide how thick of a stripe you want, and try to echo that curved line a little bit, like so, okay? And then we're going to do the same thing towards the bottom. So how much space do you want here on the bottom, between the bottom of the rocket ship and the bottom of your stripe? Again, curved line that dips down. Okay. And then we'll come up just a little ways and do the top part of that stripe. Again, you get to decide how wide those stripes are, entirely up to you. And you'll notice I kind of do a sketchy line back and forth. Some people are just super confident and can do a real solid line and they know where they're going. So whatever works for you is completely fine. Okay, you can always erase what you don't need later. Okay? All right. So we're going to do our little wings or tail fins, whatever you want to call those things, next. Okay? And on my original over here, let me just show you kind of where we're headed. We start at the bottom of the main body of our rocket, and we're going to curve out to the left a little bit. And then you can decide how wide of a fin you want there. Come up the side, and we're going to curve around and try to match it. So that's the basic curved triangle shape that we're going for, okay? So let me set that to the side, and we'll give it a shot. Okay, so starting at the bottom left corner of our main body of our rocket, we're going to curve out to the left and down. You decide how big you want it to be. I think I'm going to stop mine about right there. Okay. And then I'm going to put a little bit of a curve on the bottom, like maybe a semicircle-ish shape. Okay, and I'm going to stop there. And then I'm going to work from the other direction and come down and meet it. Okay, so now I'm going to decide how far up the body of my rocket I want this fin to go. Give myself a starting point. And we're going to come out to the left, curve it around, and dip down and kind of aim for that semicircle that we added on a minute ago. And feel free to adjust your shape a little bit if you need to. You know, we don't always get it right on the first try, and that is completely fine. Okay? Nobody said you couldn't erase or make a change, right? Okay. Now we're going to try to repeat that shape on the right-hand side. Okay? So again, we're going to start at the bottom right-hand corner of the body of our main rocket ship here. And we're going to try to echo or mirror image this first line that we did on the fin on the left-hand side. Okay? So again, we're going to curve out to the right, bring it down, and try to bring it to about the same level that you did your first fin. Okay? And sometimes what I find helpful with that, you can draw like a dotted line across the bottom or even a solid line to just give yourself a reference point, and then you can erase it later, right? We use that a lot in my art classroom. Giving ourselves reference points, it's super helpful. Okay, so again, we're gonna, oops, I didn't draw that very straight, did I? Right, there we go. Okay, so now we're gonna put that semicircle on the bottom of this fin as well. Try to make it about the same size as you did your other one. So again, glance back and forth to your first one and see how the one you're currently drawing compares. Okay? And then we're going to look at the top of our first fin. We're going to eyeball or dotted line or solid line across the body of the rocket ship and give ourselves a little reference point here so we know where the top of our right fin needs to go. Okay? And we're going to start there. Again, we're going to curve out and bring it down and try to connect with that semicircle that you made. And when I do this, I'm also glancing back to the first fin, the one over here on the left, trying to make sure that my shape is similar. Okay? And again, feel free to adjust if you need to. That's why they invented erasers. Okay, how you doing? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and clean up a few of these lines that I don't need. I'm going to erase the dotted line here at the bottom and the little reference points. And then I'm going to do the same thing across the body of the rocket here. Okay. All right, so now we're going to put in the window for our little alien to look out of. Okay, so you decide how big of a portal or a window you want. Give yourself a starting point that's kind of in the middle of the rocket ship. Okay, so this is going to be the top of my window. and I'm trying to eyeball it so it lines up kind of in the center of the rocket ship. Does that make sense? Okay. And then I'm going to come down a little ways and give myself an ending point. I think I'm going to make this window a little big, so our alien's got a great view, right? Because he needs to be able to see all those stars and constellations and nebulas and stuff, right? Okay, so starting point and ending point, roughly along the center line of our spaceship, okay? And so now we're just going to create semicircles that connect those dots. So we're going to come out to the left and connect our 2 points. Again, notice I'm doing a pretty sketchy line, trying to make sure that my circle is kind of even. Maybe that'll be helpful for you, but you do what works for you, okay? And then we're going to do the same thing over here on the right-hand side, try to echo and complete our circle. And sometimes I like to work from both directions and meet in the middle. Sometimes I find that easier, but again, you do what works for you, okay? Alrighty, so now we're going to give kind of a border around our window, and you can decide if you want that border to go on the outside of your window or if you want to do it on the inside. So depending on how much space you've got might determine where yours is going to go. I got a little bit close to this top stripe, so I'm going to do mine on the inside, okay? So again, you decide how big you want that stripe to be. I think I'm going to try to make mine a little skinnier, and we're just going to echo the first circle that we drew and try to maintain that same distance all the way around. Okay, if you get a little off, that's okay. Just grab your eraser, touch it up. Okay, kind of like that. Alrighty. Okay, gonna erase some of those reference points, get them out of the way so I don't forget to do it later. And now we're going to draw a little green alien. Okay? And again, you can decide what you want your alien to look like. But here's kind of where I'm headed with mine. Can you see that? Here, let me pull it a little closer. It's going to focus. There we go. Say hello, Mr. Alien. All right, so that's kind of where we're headed. Or at least where I'm headed. You feel free to adapt yours so that you're happy with your little alien friend. Okay? And I'm going to start with a basic circle shape for the head. And I'm gonna do kind of center to bottom center of my circle, so I've got some room for his little antenna, okay? I really don't care how much of the alien's body I get to see, but I want to make sure I see a good face, okay? I'm gonna make mine a little bit bigger than I did last time, so just start with a basic circle. You decide how big, or if you want an oval shape, you go for that too. If you're looking for a more humanoid head, our heads are shaped like an upside down egg, so feel free to draw that shape if you want to. Or again, I just did a circle because it's kind of easy. Okay? All right, now we're going to draw some antenna for our little alien. So I'm going to come up with just a straight line here on the left and put a little ball or a circle on the end of it. And repeat that on the right. So again, a short line and a ball on the right. Again, you decide what you want yours to look like, okay? And then from the bottom of the circle, we're going to work on a little bit of a neck and a body, okay? So find the center of your circle, scoot out to the left just a smidge, and we're going to start the neck and then just kind of curve out for the body and run into the windowsill, okay? And then same thing on the right. Try to come over the same distance on the right from the center as you did on the left. Come down and angle out to the right just a little bit, and you got a bit of a body there, okay? All right, so now we're going to look at some eyeballs and a smile. You decide what shape you want your eyeballs to be. You can do circles, you can do ovals, you can do just straight horizontal lines, like maybe he's blinking or something. What'd you say, Brenna? To look like Dad. Mom always says he's an alien because his eyes change colors. That's interesting. I did not know Uncle Kent's eyes changed colors. I'm going to have to watch that next time. That's funny. Okay, so there you go. You're going to have an alien named Dad. I like it, Brenna. Good job. All right, so I'm going to do some ovals for the eyes on my alien, and I'm going to make them kind of big. You're going to have some big alien eyeballs. Okay, you do what you want to with yours. Okay, so kind of like so. All right, and then maybe you want, I'm going to change mine. I had a smile on my other one, but I think this guy's looking a little surprised with those eyes. So he's going to get a little tiny circle for his mouth. And he's going to go, "Oh, what's that?" Okay. What do you think? Is he looking surprised? Can you even see him? That's a little small, isn't it? Let me bring it a little closer. Maybe you can see better. All right, here we go. Ready? There he is. Okay, so there is our alien, and we are ready to do some coloring. And if we've got time when we get done coloring our rocket ship, I'm going to show you a trick to do some really easy stars. Okay, so stay tuned. Alrighty, so we're going to start with the body of our rocket ship. I did mine yellows and purples. And Brenna, actually, I was thinking of you when I picked purple on this. But yellow and purple is one of my favorite color combinations. They're complementary colors, so they're opposites on the color wheel, which means when you put them together, they make each other vibrate a little bit. They're really intense. When you mix them together, they make shadow tones. So there's your art lesson for today on color theory. So anyway, we're going to start with the yellow, but if you want different colors for yours, you feel free to pick different colors for yours. Yes, purple all the way. I know, you K-State fan. I love it. Right there with you. Okay, so I'm working with Crayolas again today just so I can show you that you can do this with any kind of colored pencil. Okay, so here's what I've got. I've got a Crayola regular yellow that's going to be my main color. And then I've got a Crayola golden yellow that's going to be my accent or analogous color that makes it look more interesting, right? Now, if you don't have those options, grab a yellow and you can do an orange would work. Or if you like cooler tones, you could also layer a yellow green with your yellow, okay? If you're picking a color other than yellow, maybe let's say you're doing orange, for example, you could put a red with it, or you could put some yellow with it, okay? So just think about the rainbow. What colors are next to the one you want your rocket ship to be, and pick one of those colors to just punch it up a notch. Does that make sense? All right, so we're gonna start with our basic yellow. And again, we're gonna color with tiny circles that overlap. And depending on how rich you want your color to be, depends on how hard you're gonna push, okay? So if you want a richer color and you're willing to spend a little more time on it, you need to press lighter and do more layers, okay? If you're someone who wants more instant results, you need to push a little harder, okay? And just so I don't take a ton of your time today, I'm gonna push a little harder, so I'm gonna do a 5 or a 6 pressure on a 10 scale where 10 is the hardest, okay? So again, tiny circles. I've got a blunt pencil, so I'm gonna hold it straight up and down and grab towards the tip so I can push just a little bit harder. Tiny circles and overlap, okay? And we're just going to fill in the nose cone of our rocket here, and then we'll go ahead and do the body and the tail end here as well, okay? I feel like I need to learn some official rocket ship terminology so I can explain better. Okay, so again, tiny circles that overlap, 5 or 6 pressure. Okay, and then we're going to jump down here and do this section. And just work your way around your pencil lines. Now again, I should mention, if you want, this would be a good place to stop and lighten up your regular pencil lines. I should have mentioned that a minute ago, sorry. It just popped in my head. But this would be a good time to make sure your pencil lines are super light so that they don't show through your colored pencil later. I'm going to leave mine as is so you can see better what I'm doing, because I don't feel like super light pencil lines are going to show up on the video real well. So this is one of those do as I say, not as I do things. Sorry. Brenna, I feel like I need that coloring song we talked about last time. Did you find that for me yet? Or should we sing Jeopardy again? Ready? Do, 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 do. It's a repetitive song, huh? Tina, you're playing catch up. That's good. I'm glad you're hanging out with us today. That's all right, Brenna. It's kind of fun to sing Jeopardy anyway. It's all good. Just popped in my head and made me giggle. All right, so there's one layer of yellow down. How y'all doing out there? Red, 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 a little bit of red. I like that. There you go. All right, so now I'm gonna grab my second color of yellow. Now this one's the golden yellow that we talked about. If you're gonna use an orange, now would be the time to grab that, or a yellow green, whichever you've chosen. Or if you're doing a completely different color, grab the neighbor of the color you're working with, okay? And we're gonna put a light layer of this color down just to add some interest to our yellow, or whatever color you're working with, not change the color completely. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna grab here at the back, I'm going to use the side of the pencil. So the lead of my pencil is parallel with the paper. We're still going to do tiny circles that overlap, but we're going to ease up on the pressure and do like a 2 or a 3, or depending on how much of this color you want to show through. I can afford to push a little harder because my golden yellow is super close to my regular yellow in color, right? But if you're using an orange, you need to ease up on the pressure a little bit so that you don't turn your rocket ship into an orange rocket ship. Does that make sense? Okay, so the stronger your color is, or the further away from the original it is, you need to ease up on the pressure, okay? And we'll just put a layer of this across all of our yellow areas, okay? Tina, as you're playing catch up out there, if you need help with something, just type it in the chat and I'll talk you through it. Or if there's anybody else out there in that boat, just holler, let me know. All right, so again, we're just putting a light layer of our analogous or neighboring color on top of our yellow to add some interest. I'm working with a slightly yellow-orange color. If you don't have that, you can use just a regular orange. Help! What do you need help with, Tina? I probably should have grabbed an orange. I'm not sure this yellow-orange is showing up very well for you all, huh? Okay, hit the bottom down here. Oh, oh, I'm sure it's not that bad, Tina. Hang in there. Funny. All right, so now we've got a layer of yellow and a layer of yellow-orange or whatever color it is you used on there, right? So then your next step would be to go back over that with your regular yellow, but I'm gonna sneak in some shadows here real quick, okay? So I want you to grab a purple colored pencil. Pretty please. So this one says violet or purple. That's what I'm going to use. And we're going to use this to put in some shadows. And again, we're going to be super, super light with this. I'm going to sharpen my pencil here just a second. Okay, we're going to use the side of our purple, just like we did with that yellow or yellow-orange color that we were using. We're going to hold it on its side, way back here at the back, and we're going to be super, super, super light with this, okay? Because we don't want a purple outline on our rocket ship. We're just going for a shadow. Okay, let me grab the original here and show you again. Let me pull this a little closer. So can you see this little shadow right here at the edge? Okay, that's what we're going for. We're going for just a slightly darker yellow tone, not a purple outline. So be really careful here, okay? On its side. And we're going to do a little darker at the edge of the rocket ship next to our graphite line. Do a layer there. Again, teeny tiny circles that overlap and super light. So like a pressure of like a 1 on a 10 scale, right? And then right next to it, you're going to go even lighter. Okay, or what you could do is do the same pressure and then go back over the outside edge one more time to darken it up. And again, we're creating that fade that gradient effect that we've talked about in several of our videos here. Okay, so it's darker at the edge and fades as it rolls in towards the center. And remember, you can always darken something up, but it's kind of hard to take it back off once you've put it on, okay? All right, so we're going to do that around the outline of our rocket ship here. Okay, so again, a little darker at the edge, a little lighter as you come in. Teeny tiny circles that overlap, super light pressure. And again, grabbing your pencil way at the back and using the side makes it harder to push hard. Okay. All right, work our way down the right-hand side here. Again, you can push just a smidge harder at the outside edge and ease up as you move to the inside. And you can decide how wide you want your shadow to be. I'm keeping mine fairly narrow, but if you want yours a little bigger, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. All right, same thing down here along the bottom. And then we'll be ready for another layer of yellow. Right? Yeah, Brenna, it is kind of fascinating. It's really interesting how those colors interact. You know, we've talked a lot about the color wheel in several of these videos, and let me just crash course again here real quick. You take a rainbow and you bend it into a circle, right? So there's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple, right? Or violet, whatever you want to call it, okay? Opposites on the color wheel, when you mix them together, they create shadow tones, right? When you put them side by side, they make each other vibrate or appear really intense, but when you mix them together, they create shadows. So that's what I use in my colored pencil drawings, like my flower drawings, all the time, because it creates a much richer and interesting tone to look at and a warmer tone than using a black would. So, inside baseball for you there. And the neighboring colors that we've been talking about, or analogous colors, are the ones beside each other on the color wheel, right? So we're working with yellow today on the main part, so they're using an orange or a green would be its analogous colors. Oftentimes when I work on a drawing, I will use both analogous colors. Now yellow is kind of the exception to that, because when you mix orange and green together, it creates that brownish tone. So yes, I do use yellow a lot with those purple irises. You are right. Lots of yellow shadowy tones in there. And using like some kind of dark, icky yellow colors, I suppose you'd say, kind of the mustardy brownish tones even. So, okay, so we're going to grab the yellow colored pencil that we started with, and we're going to go back over our rocket ship here. Now I'm going to push pretty firmly with this because I'm ready to fill in color. Now if you're someone who's going for more layers, you don't need to push that hard just yet. You can continue layering, okay? But always, 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 when you use a complementary color, you sandwich it between the color you started with. In art, we call that your local color, okay? If you were to put a different color on top of it, you would get a different result, okay? So for example, if I were working with green, and I needed to use like yellow and blue as my complement or my analogous colors, but I put a layer of red and for the shadow, right? But then if I did not go back over that with green, let's say I went back over that with yellow, what happens when you mix yellow and red? You get orange, right? So it's going to be a very different result than if you mix it with its complementary color. I hope that made sense. But at any rate, anytime you work with a complementary color, always put the complementary color back on top of it rather than an analogous color, or it's going to mess with your results, okay? I feel like that was very confusing. I'm sorry, I don't think I explained that very well. All right, so push hard, tiny circles if you're ready to finish it. Otherwise, you keep doing your layers, okay? Oh, good, Brenna, thanks. I'm glad that wasn't confusing. Yeah, blending is fun. I like it. It's always interesting to me to see how the different colors interact when you layer them on top of each other. If you wanted to, you could have also put a shadow around the portal here too. So you can still go back and do that if you want to. I didn't on the original, but that doesn't mean you can't. All right. So pushing with an 8 or a 9 pressure here just to kind of fill it in. But again, don't feel like you have to do that yet if you're not ready. That's okay. All right. So there's the yellow body of our spaceship. And we are ready to put on some purple stripes and some purple fins, okay? So we're going to work with purple or a violet, okay? And then purple's neighbor, one of them is blue, right? So we're going to use a dark blue as our accent or analogous color, okay? And then we'll use a little bit of yellow for our shadow tone, okay? All right, so we're going to start with our stripes, just a light layer of purple, well, like a 4 or 5 pressure, depending on how many layers you want to do and how instant results you want, okay? Again, if you want a richer color, you can push a little lighter. If you want more instant results, you push a little harder, okay? I'm going to do 4 or 5 pressure on a 10 scale, and we're just going to overlap our tiny circles and give just a basic layer of color to our stripes, our fin, and the border around our window or our portal. And again, if you guys are struggling with anything or have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat and I'll try to catch them as they pop up here. Okay, a little streaky there, so I'm going to try to go back and even mine up just a little bit. Okay, the windowsill here. It's not really windowsill, but hey, whatever. Okay, and then we'll fill in the fins. If I'm going too fast, you guys let me know, okay? Okay, and one more. Now, if you notice a spot where you happen to get a little bit streaky or your pressure varied a little bit and you've got like darker color in some areas and lighter color in other areas, you can certainly go back and put a layer on top of the lighter areas and see if you can help balance it out and get it to blend in and match better with the darker areas. So there's a little trick for you there. And if you get super too heavy, and you feel like you just need to get rid of it, you remember you can use the clear tape or Scotch tape to lay over the area that you want to erase, rub on it, and peel that tape up, and it'll pull up some color for you. If you need me to show you that again, just let me know. I'll be glad to do it. All right, so there's a layer of purple. And then we're going to grab the dark blue, and we're going to hit it again. So over the top of the purple. Because these colors are fairly close in value, one's not darker than the other or stronger than the other, you can use about equal pressure as you were with your purple. Okay, this pencil of mine's a little more blunt, so I'm going to grab at the tip and use the top end of it. If yours is more sharp, stick it on the side like we were with the purple. Grab it a little more towards the back and do it that way. Oops, that skipped over the window again. Now you'll notice mine's turning out to look pretty blue at the moment. That's okay. We're going to hit it with some more purple, and then we're going to do some shadows with some yellow here. So if yours is looking a little bit blue, don't panic. It'll be okay. We're just going to push harder with the purple when we go over that, okay? Now if you wanted a little extra oomph or interest in this color, you could also layer some red in here with it, right? Because when you mix blue and red together, you get purple. I'm sure there's a Jayhawk and a Wildcat joke in there somewhere. You have to mix the red and the blue to get the purple. Yes, exactly, Brenna. We love our Jayhawk friends, though. All in good fun. Okay, nearly there with the blue. Now before we work on our shadows, we're going to make sure we go back over this with a layer of purple over the whole thing, because this is where you're going to run into that problem I was talking about a minute ago. Yellow would be the complementary color that we use to make shadows with purple, right? But we have a layer of blue down. So when we mix our yellow and blue, we're going to get green rather than a shadow color, right? So we have to make sure we take our purple and put down a layer of purple first, okay? I'm going to push a little harder with mine and grab at the tip just a little bit more so that we get done a little bit quicker here. But again, if you want to invest more time and do more layers, that's perfectly fine. Please don't feel like you have to rush just because I'm working a little faster, okay? It's your artwork. We want you to be happy with it. So whatever you have the patience and desire for, you go for that. Now you'll notice my purple is leaning a little bit towards the violet blue end of the spectrum. Again, if you would put a little red in there with your blue, that would help balance it out and move it more towards the violet range. Red is a fairly strong color though, so anytime you use it, do be careful. Always press a little lighter than you think you need to, and then of course if you need to press harder you can adjust, but again it's a little harder to take color off once you've got it on there. So always err on the side of caution and lighter pressure than you think you might need. Okay, a little color on the fins and we'll be ready to do some shadows. One more. All right, there's the last of the purple on my fins. Hope you guys are doing okay out there. So the next thing I'm going to grab then is the dark yellowy orange color I was using earlier. Now if you have access to something more in the mustardy brown range, you might grab that. That will help you to punch up your shadows just a little bit. This is just the one I just grabbed the colored pencils I thought I was going to need. So this is the one I'm going to use, and it'll help. It'll work. But the darker colors always help to punch up your shadows just a little bit. Okay, so because yellow is a weaker color, I'm going to use the tip of the pencil and I'm going to push just a little bit harder than I normally would when layering complementary colors together. Okay, usually you use a lot of caution and you're pretty light with those colors. Okay, but yellow is kind of a weakling. I love it to pieces, but it's kind of a weakling. So we're going to push a little harder. Okay, so again, we're going to start at the outside edge. Darker at the outside edge, so a little more pressure out there, and then we're going to ease up as we roll it in a little bit. Okay, I don't know, does that show up? Can you kind of see that? Yeah, maybe so. All right, so again, same thing on the other side. A little darker at the edge, and ease up as you come in just a little bit. So you create that nice fade effect, okay? And I'm going to skip the windowsill. If you want to, you could attempt to put a little bit of a shadow around the two edges. Feels like just a little bit too tight of a space for me, but maybe you drew bigger and you've got a little more room to work with, so you feel free to do that if you want to. I'm going to jump down here to this other purple stripe. Again, darker at the outside edge, ease up the pressure as you come in and create that nice fade. Okay, and then on these fins, we're going to do along the edge where it connects to the main body of the rocket ship, and then I'm also going to do the bottom or inside edge of the fin. I'm going to leave the top. In fact, if you wanted to, you could grab a white colored pencil and add a little bit of a highlight here on the top. Might be kind of fun to do. Okay, so right here along the edge where it connects to the body, we're going to push a little harder closer to the body and then ease up as you come inside the fin just a little bit. And then across the bottom, again darker at the edge. Roll across the bottom of this little circle right here, semicircle, 2, okay? Ease up as you move it to the inside just a little bit. Okay, and repeat on the right. Oh, you started top edge, Tina? That's okay. You can put maybe just put a fun outline around the whole thing. That'll be all right. And that way it'll look like your light source is coming like straight at it this way, like right in the alien's eyeballs. My light source is kind of coming top down this direction, so it would be hitting the top edge of these fins first. But if you do yours this way and do kind of an outline around the whole thing, a shadow on the edge of the whole thing, that'll make it look like that, and your highlight can be here in the center. That'd be totally fine. See? Problem solving. It's all good. Just pretend you're Bob Ross and turn it into a happy accident, right? You will make happy little rocket ships with happy little aliens instead of happy trees and happy squirrels, right? Love me some Bob Ross, man. All right, so once you've got your layer of yellow down, you're going to take your purple and go over the top. And again, you want to push pretty firmly here. So 8, 9 pressure somewhere in there. And I would just go over that shadow tone at the edge, unless you're wanting to burnish and fill in all your white spaces, because that extra layer of purple will help to enhance your shadow a little bit too and make it stand out just a little more. But again, whatever floats your boat, makes you happy. What'd you say, Brenna? Oh, right. Bob Ross could talk me to sleep too. I hear you. Got such a soft, gentle voice. Okay. So down here on this stripe again. And if your edges on your purple are blurring together a little bit, it's kind of hard to tell where your stripe ends and your fin begins. That's all right. We're going to take a black and outline this when we're done anyway, so don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Okay. Hit the fins here. Oops, sorry, I started on the right instead of the left. Do it in order, Gina, come on. Now, if your shadow's not popping out quite as much as you want it to, you could also take your dark blue and go back over it, and then one more layer of purple, just on the shadow part to create a little more contrast. If you want, you certainly don't have to. Whatever makes you happy. Okay, all right. Hit this fin on the right. Okay. I think that's about it for the shadows on my end. How you guys doing out there? Touch some of these up just a little bit, darken the edges. Just a smidge. Okay. Now I have a white sitting right here. Let me show you just a little bit on a highlight if you wanted to. You take your white, and again, you're going to push pretty firmly, tiny circles, but you can do a highlight the same way that we did shadow tone, and just put a really strong layer of white on the top, or Tina in the middle of yours, either way, and then just lighten up the pressure a little bit as you come out. And then if I were to go over this with a little bit more purple, that white will kind of block out the purple a little bit. And see how I color over the white area, it doesn't stick as much as where the white isn't. And that just enhances your highlight a little bit. Tina, you said what? You have blobs, not shadows? Well, you could probably, I'm guessing if your blobs are like, is it darker at the edge and then it kind of jumps to your main color? If that's the case, just try to lighten up the pressure a little bit right next to your blobs and blend them out just a little bit more. See if that helps maybe. Okay, so there's kind of what you can do with a highlight. So a little bit of white up there at the top, and then some more purple. And then if you want, you can take your white and touch it back up just a little bit, and again, create that fade that we were talking about. So it's, you know, more white at the edge and ease up as it comes in. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. All right, I think we're ready to do our alien. What do you say? The alien named Kent. All right, so we're going to grab, let's see here. That's very nice of you, Brenna. All right, so we're going to grab yellow-green for our regular body color here, okay? And then we're going to use yellow for our analogous color and a dark green to help punch up some shadows on this one, okay? We're going to stay away from the red because it's a little bit of a strong color. So we're going to use a dark green instead on our shadows. So I'm sure both of you girls' drawings are looking great, by the way. No stressing allowed out there. Just have a good time, okay? All right. So we're going to take our yellow-green and put a light layer of yellow-green on our alien antenna balls up here on top of the little vertical line. Hopefully yours is lighter so your green will show up. Mine's not going to show up quite so much. That's okay though. Okay. And then we're going to color around the eyes and around the mouth. Okay. Now because we are going over it with black, it's not a huge deal if you happen to get in there. But again, keep in mind, because colored pencil's transparent, anytime you color over something and you put another color on top of it, it's going to alter that color, right? Because whatever's underneath is going to show through. So food for thought. All right, and I'm going to grab the yellow. I'm going to sharpen mine a little bit because he's pretty flat. And these are some tiny spaces we're trying to get into here. Oops, broke my lead. Come out of there. Probably because I dropped that pencil at some point, huh? Oops. All right, here we go. Layer of yellow on top of your yellow-green. All right, and then we're going to go back on top with the yellow-green again. Pushing a little harder. Oops, sorry, I think I just hit you with my head. My bad. So a little harder pressure, like an 7 or an 8 in here probably. And then we're going to grab our dark green and try a few shadows, okay? So I'm going to do on the bottom edge of the little balls on his antennas. I'm going to do around the edge of his face just a little bit, and definitely under his chin. So that's kind of where we're headed. Okay, and you decide how much contrast you want there, but I would say again, start pressing lightly first till you kind of get the hang of it, and then you can push a little harder if you want to until you're happy with your shadowy color. Okay. Whoops, I got an outline there instead of a shadow. Right on top of my graphite line, I think is what did that. Okay, so a little bit of a shadow at the around the outside of the face here a little bit. A little bit extra at the bottom. Okay, and then definitely on the neck right there. And if you want to roll it down his shoulders a little bit, you're certainly welcome to do that. Okay. All right. Now it's time for some eyeballs and the inside of the window. And I think I'm going to do mine all black. If you want and you have the space inside of your eyes, you might think about drawing a teeny tiny little circle in there for a light reflection that you're going to attempt to color around. Just makes your alien look a little more lifelike. Anytime you put those light reflection in eyes, that really helps them come to life. Yeah. My space is a little too small for that. I'm not sure I've got the room. So I'm just going to color over mine. You do whatever makes you happy, okay? So we're going to do a layer of black inside the eyes, inside the mouth, and then I'm also going to do inside my window. Now maybe you want your inside of your window to be a different color. That's entirely up to you. Whatever makes you happy, okay? All right, now to make our black a little more interesting, we're going to grab that dark purple and the dark blue that we were working with earlier, and we're going to put a layer of each of those down. I'm going to start with the purple. Again, 4 or 5 pressure on this, on all of the areas that I colored black. And then I'm going to do a layer of the dark blue, same thing. I'll sharpen the pencil just a little bit here. Maybe. There we go. Another little tidbit of color theory for you here. Black and white in art are referred to as neutrals, so they really don't have analogous or complementary colors to work with like we've been doing. So we just typically use blues and purples with them because blues and purples, you tend to find those in shadow tones anyway, like when you think about the night sky or you think about shadows cast on the snow, it tends to have hints of blues and purples in it. So that's what I always go to when I need to add black to anything, although it's very rare for me to use a black colored pencil in any of my flower drawings. I always try to get there if I can using complementary colors. And colors like black raspberries, black cherries, indanthrone blues. I mean, just really dark colors. But the iris that I'm working on at the moment have such deep dark purples that I've had to throw some blacks in there. So anyway, little tidbit of trivia for you there. All right, so grabbing the black colored pencil again, I'm going to sharpen it just a little bit. And I'm going to come back over the top of these areas with a pretty good pressure. So again, like an 8 or a 9 here probably, and just really punch up those black areas. All right. Try to see if I can work around the stems on my antenna just a little bit, but they're so small. I think they're going to disappear. Okay, and while I've got the black out, I'm going to go ahead and outline everything, and then we'll show you a little trick on how to do some easy stars if you'd like. Okay, so again, just tracing my pencil outlines here, just to punch everything up a little bit and clean it up, make it stand out nice and neat. Clean up your edges. I'm pushing pretty firmly here. If your line starts to get a little bit wide, sharpen your pencil and go at it again. Okay. Sounds great, Tina. Thanks for joining. I always think we're going to get done in under an hour, and we never do. Not that I mind, but I feel bad taking you guys' time. Hopefully y'all don't mind either. All right, around the inside edge of the window. This is the part that always makes my hand tired, is the outlining or the burnishing. Oh, hi Shirley. Do I always outline? I have been on just our little cartoon drawings. I typically don't so much on the flower drawings because I want those to look super realistic, right? And these have kind of more of a cartoony feel to them. So it really is just a matter of personal preference on that. Now on the more photorealistic flowers that I do, I often take a pencil and clean up the edge a little bit, right? So when you work with colored pencil, your edges can kind of get a little fuzzy. So I always take a harder pencil or a sharp pencil, but often to clean up the edges, but oftentimes I'll do it in whatever color the object is that I'm working on. So like the iris petals, for example, I'll take a purple that's pretty close to the area of that petal that I'm working on and just sharpen up and clean up the edge a little bit with a really sharp pencil. That's a great question. The outlining is entirely up to you, whatever makes you happy. Now, I guess I do outline the Celtic crosses in my flower drawings, because it helps those designs to stand out a little bit more, but I often will do it with a darker version of the color that particular pattern's in. Sometimes I'll do it all in the same color, just kind of depends on what I think is going to work best. But now that I stop and think about it. Okay. Finishing up the outline here, and then we'll do those stars I promised you. Okay, so to do the stars, it's going to take a few more pieces of equipment or tools than I had you grab. Okay, so you might want to just try this later or work with whatever you've got available. But you're going to want, if you've got it, a piece of wax paper. You could also use tracing paper, or even just a piece of regular paper works too if you can see through it well enough. And then you're going to want a few pieces of extra paper to create some padding. So we're going to take this extra paper and we're going to slide it underneath our spaceship. I'll see if I can balance that with my hands, okay? Then I'm going to take the wax paper and a really sharp mechanical pencil, or you could do a regular pencil, again, fairly sharp. You decide where you want your stars to go, and basically what you're going to do is just create a divot in your paper. So you're going to push pretty firmly in a circular motion here and create a divot in your drawing paper. Does that make sense? You decide how many stars you want, how big of circles do you want them to be. And I'm not going to do a ton of these because I don't want to take too much more of your time, seeing as we're already over an hour in. But we'll do enough that maybe you can kind of see this work. Okay, now be careful that you don't poke a hole in your wax paper when you do this, or you'll get graphite into your stars, right? Okay, so something like that. Oh yeah, see, like I did right there. Way to go, Gina. Okay, so we're going to take this thing called a kneaded eraser. It's kind of a grayish thing. I'm going to squeeze it into a point and see if I can get it inside those divots and get some of that out of there. Well, maybe not. Famous last words. All right, well, you'll get the idea here anyway. Sorry if I'm jiggling you there, shaking the phone holder. All right, well, at any rate, try not to do that when you do yours. You're going to grab your black colored pencil, put it on its side, and you want it to just glide over the top of those divots. And again, you can do tiny circles if you want to do tiny circles, right? But I'm going to push a little, or just do kind of a linear stroke so you can see this a little better. So the ones where my pencil poked through the paper aren't working so hot, right? But the ones where it didn't, you can start to see those little white star dots develop, yeah? And again, you could treat this black just like we did the black behind the alien and in the alien eyes, okay? You can take your purple and your blue and do the same thing here, okay? Now, again, the key is to keep that pencil on its side because you don't want the tip of the pencil to go down into the hole and put color in your stars, right? Assuming you want your stars to be white like your paper is. Does that make sense? Okay, and switch. Kind of like that. And then you could go back over it with your black and darken it up, or continue to layer however many times you felt like you wanted to layer. Okay. And then if you wanted those stars to be yellow instead of white, you could get a really sharp yellow colored pencil and poke the tip of that pencil down into that hole and make them yellow. Or you could maybe color some yellow first, then do your wax paper dots, and then color over the top, because the black and the other colors should cover over your yellow pretty well. But there again, if you don't fill in your white spaces, that yellow will peek through a little bit. So at any rate, hopefully that shows up, and that's, let me pull it a little closer. It's an easier way to create some stars. There, is that going to focus for you? There, you see that? So there we go. There's our little spaceship and our little alien guy. Hope you guys had a good time. Sure appreciate you joining me today. Here, let me pull this out of the holder and turn it around so I can see you. Maybe. Come here, Fred. There we go. Hi. So thanks so much for joining me today. I sure appreciate hanging out with you guys and having the opportunity to just create some art and have a fun creative escape together. If you feel brave enough, do post your drawing for me in the comments below, or tag me on Facebook, maybe with the hashtag Creative Escapes, if you want to do that. Those of you catching us on the replay, be sure, if you're not brave enough to share your photo, maybe just comment below and say, did it! Had some fun, just so I know you're out there enjoying it and getting some value out of it. And for those of you that stuck around here to the end, I've got a little surprise for you. Hang on. I finished the greens on the iris today. Can you see that? Sorry, it's kind of sideways. Let me turn it. Oh, time out. Hold on. Kind of a mess. Here we go. So there, the greens on the irises are all done. I'm ready to start the background, so I'm super excited about that. So, anywho, hope you guys have had fun today. Sure appreciate you joining me, and we'll see you next Monday, okay? Take care. Bye-bye.